In GDS, the voice of persons with psychosocial disability matters.
Triumph Coalition, with support from the Disability Rights Fund, is implementing a project called named Our Voice Matters towards a holistic approach to psychosocial disability inclusion. Over 30 psychosocial disability rights self-advocates from the districts of Jinja, Buyikwe, and Mukono have been skilled to have basic knowledge on tracking implementation of the Global Disability Summit commitments, as Dr. Daniel Igamwesigwa explains.
My name is Dr. Iga Daniel Mwesigwa, a person with a lived experience of psychosocial disabilities since 1976. So now I'm a senior citizen. By that time I was 13. And at the same time, now I'm the co-chair of the World Network of Users and Survivors of Psychiatry, the World Network of Users and Survivors of Psychiatry, and also a board member of the International Disability Alliance. And down in Uganda here, I'm the national coordinator of My Story Initiative. Why we have brought this training at this time is we want, and we have been training self-advocates in the United Nations Convention of Rights of Persons with Disabilities, UNCRPD, linking it with the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and as well as the Global Summit commitments, the Global Disability Summit. However, we give thanks to the Disability Rights Fund, which has enabled this to happen, so that we are saying that our voice matters in the Global Disability Summit. The voice of persons with psychosocial disability matters in the Global Disability Summit. And also, the outcomes we expect to train self-advocates who will go down on the grassroots and also use the rights enshrined in the UNCRPD and Sustainable Development Goals and the Global Summit commitments of Uganda 2022, which among them as inclusive education, inclusive health, climate change, inter alia. So those are some of the commitments we feel they should not remain in the ministry, but they should percolate down to the grassroots. For the rights holders are at the grassroots, and government is just a duty bearer. So in a nutshell, that is what we are doing, and we shall continue to do, to empower them with this knowledge so that they can be leaders and advocates who advocate from a point of knowledge. The pertinent issues have been that within even the disability fraternity, still psychosocial disability is new the whole world and Uganda because it is invisible, and therefore they are still underrepresented or marginalized or left behind, and people are not considering them as persons with disabilities. And that is a very pertinent issue which has come out from a number of these self-advocates. Then in development agendas like PDM, they have been left out. Although there is a percentage for persons with disabilities, they have never been considered in these development agendas. And yet we are talking about the UN Agenda 2030, leave nobody behind. So we don't want political rhetorics, but we want things in action that will create an inclusive world without barriers like attitudinal barriers, which really discriminate against persons with disabilities, especially psychosocial disability. We have also had previous meetings with stakeholders like local government leaders, empowering them about this knowledge so that they know and they don't abuse these rights. So that as duty bearers, they do the right thing. And so that the rights holders, who are the persons with psychosocial disabilities, are not left out.
Human rights activist Oscar Walukhu-Wakooli says tracking the implementation status of the Global Disability Summit commitments with specific attention paid to persons with psychosocial disabilities is very critical.
My name is Oscar Walukhu-Wakooli and I'm a disability rights advocate. This training that has been organized by Triumph Mental Health Support, Uganda Mental Health Fellowship, Atane Kontola and My Story Initiative in a coalition under a project codenamed Our Voice Matters is looking at domesticating the Global Disability Summit commitments at local government level. And so this training has been organized to target the self-advocates, staff and board of the three organizations towards their involvement in the implementation of the Global Disability Summit Commitments 2025. As you are alive to the fact, is these commitments are the third that the government of Uganda is committing, and it will be taking place in Germany from the 1st to the 3rd of April 2025. So there are quite a number of thematic areas, 7 of them, looking at nothing about us without us, implementation of rights, implementation, human rights, among others. And we wanted the staff, the self-advocates, generally people working at the grassroots, to get acquainted with the process, but also to engage strategically in advocacy using the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Of course, also very important, we have brought in is the SDGs that emphasize leaving no one behind. Of course, most importantly as well is how the deinstitutionalization process can be used during the process of the domestication of the Global Disability Summit. So that's why, and from the training, the staff and the other colleagues have been empowered on how best to use the human rights-based approach in advocating for the involvement of persons with psychosocial disabilities in the Global Disability Summit.
The Executive Director, Triumph Mental Health and Recovery Program, Robina Alambuya, highlighted the importance of amplifying young people's voices to advocate for their rights.
I am Robina Akanwaji Alambuya Nalongo. Yes, I'm a woman with psychosocial disability, a mother, and I am the leader managing the Triumph Coalition that is made up of 3 organizations with the support of Disability Rights Fund. These organizations are Triumph Mental Health Support, My Story Initiative, Uganda Mental Health Fellowship Atane Kontola. We are organizations that are working among persons with disabilities. As a coalition of persons with psychosocial disabilities, we realized that it is very important for sustainability and continuity of our advocacy that we've done for years, because many of us have done this and now we are senior citizens. It's important now to make sure that the younger people, the youth, are actively involved in our activities. So the younger women, the younger men, we have made every effort for youths to be part right from the time of designing our project, implementation, and also making sure we are monitoring together what is happening. And we are doing what they call mentorship, relational mentorship, bringing them close to us. They learn, we learn together with them, and they will be able to take on the advocacy voice. One of the objectives, and why we have been training today, we've been trained to see how we can best do monitoring and evaluation, to monitor how the Global Disability Summit commitments are coming down and here, and how they are, the readiness to implement them, the gaps that are there, and how we can work together to bridge the gaps so that the implementation goes on well and it is inclusive of us.
The participants acknowledge that the training equipped them with skills for self-advocacy on disability inclusion, for enhanced participation in decision-making, and enhanced disability inclusion in humanitarian and disaster risk response.
This CRPD training has empowered me with understanding on the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, especially the articles. Oftentimes we do advocacy work and we do not understand the laws that we should abide by, but also the laws that help us understand that we also have equal access just like anybody else in the community. And what I choose to take away from this training is to actively participate in my community, but also educate others and share the same resources we are being given here. My last message to my fellow youth and young persons with psychosocial disabilities is to continuously build hope and resilience. Disability is not inability. And I just want to encourage you, just like me and any other empowered youth outside there, let your challenges not define you. You can actually empower yourself. There's lots of study materials these days, not just from different organizations, but even on Google. Access some of these articles. If you have mentors, it would help you a very long way. But also, wherever you are placed, whether it's a school, whether it's in the community, advocate for others, because it's your voice. When you speak up, that's when people can be able to listen to you and tend to your issues. I'm Rachel, I'm Mental Health and Disability Inclusion Advocate at Triumph Mental Health Support.
The Global Disability Summit commitments aims at addressing vulnerability and exclusion of persons with disabilities by ensuring meaningful inclusion and participation of persons with psychosocial disabilities in all matters that affect their lives. Uganda government adopted international conventions, treaties, laws, and frameworks in sustained response to disability.